as pairings are just being fixed now and going up. So we're going to have players coming out.
Yeah, pro tip for anyone running a tournament on tabletop TO: probably don't get too creative with the tournament structure.
Yeah, maybe just run Swiss. But having said, Jared, our tournament organizer, is doing a really strong job of keeping everything together. We have a first order list for you versus a separatist list. We inputted them in advance to try and get ahead of the curve, and thus the players are the wrong side around.
Well, what can you do?
But we tried.
But this looks like it should be a really interesting matchup. Good opportunity to see how a really sort of quite a strong bidding double Nantex list will go.
Oh, okay, so it is. Sorry, excuse me, ignore me.
Just having a bit of interference from Nick here, who's done an
Nick
excellent
just
job
wants
of
to get close to
playing
people
and keeping us on track. Even managed to win a game last round, by all accounts. sounded a bit dicey in the last roll.
It was very dicey in the last roll.
You can't be lucky, be good, right?
Once we get into the round as well, we'll try and let everyone know how scores are going.
So what? From now on, the tournament has switched to extended mode.
No, switched to hyperspace from extended.
From hyperspace to extended mode. We know exactly what's going on.
Fixed it.
So we're now, extended lists are now legal in the tournament, but obviously both of these players, because they're on new factions, have hyperspace legal lists anyway.
So we have players on their way to tables. Looks like we are just a few minutes away from running. But as requested by the chat, and I think mostly by Dean, I think was one of the people that asked, we have, let's say, some more Nantex for everybody.
Yeah, this round is brought to you by Dean.
So I think it's another chance for everyone to see, I mean, 3 good ships, right? The initiative is always their weak point, 2 4s. But running against a first order list, the Nantex are bidding harder, so Sunfac is going to be moving after everything, and we'll see how much the first order can do to deal with that. Nick is one of the Chaos Squadron guys, so I don't know him, but I presume he's been playing a while, knows what he's doing. And Mark from 1066, so yeah, it should be an interesting matchup.
Mark, at least, I think one has 2 and 1 at this stage. Certainly has won a single match, at least. This is a new list. He was running a different list for the first 3 games of today.
Yeah. And I think I'll take this opportunity to say, I for one hail our new Geonosian overlords.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always liked bugs.
Yeah, I think is it Galaxy Starship Troopers? Starship Troopers is that classic horror movie where a bunch of generic white dudes run around murdering harmless families.
I mean, you just wouldn't be allowed to make a movie like that.
No, it's genuinely terrifying.
So 186 taking things far too seriously. You can see them all huddled over in a corner there. Everyone else having a nice time. They seem to be having some sort of in-depth strategy talk.
I mean, it looks from here like a grunchy PTA meeting.
Yeah, I think Joel's been disqualified. They've sent him away.
That was a look of a man who's been thrown under a bus.
Yeah. He's won 3 games so far. I don't know what he's done to deserve it, but clearly there's some internal politics going on. As Lloyd said, we'll update you on the scores once we get a moment to. Just give the TO time to sort this round out, and then we'll badger in to get the round scores.
And I think, as we said, we've got 11 squadrons here today, mostly from the southeast, London and southeast area. I note that I think we've got every one of the good squadrons in the area.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a single squadron of note.
Yes, anyone in the chat? I think a few people have just joined the chat. If there's a squadron we're missing, let us know. But I think pretty much everyone of note is here.
Yeah, no, I can't. All of the notable pilots from the south as well. I can't think of a single good player who isn't in the room.
Yeah, no, I think we've got everyone. Yeah, it's been really good coverage. So it'll be nice, obviously, next year if we can get a bit more wider attendance, get some more people from outside of London and the South East coming down. But yeah, it's been a really good day.
Yeah, it looks like it's been successful so far. I think probably the tournament structure might be tweaked a little bit.
Yeah, I think as always, right, simpler is better, but
Yeah.
I can see why they wanted to have a bit of hyperspace and a bit of extended, trying to appeal to everybody. So Ricky is here. He thinks that I can
Ricky's
lip read, but I
ruined
can't.
everything.
Oh, I think they've played a Phantom Menace.
Yeah, so
I
so
think Nick
first
has
order
ducked out.
fans, I apologise. What was going to be a really good matchup. We've now got Chaos Squadron subbing in a Sinker Swarm in place of the FO list. This has suddenly become a much harder matchup for Mark.
But probably, I think, a decent chance to see actually like two more meta lists crashing against each other.
This is the round, I think, when everyone suddenly started to take it a bit more seriously.
Yeah, it's stopped being fun, right? Everyone's
Three
like, no,
rounds
this is...
of nice, friendly games, and everyone's still having a nice time, but all of a sudden you can see the squadrons all grouped together, having a chat, trying to maximise, sort of make the most of their matchups and
People
get the
start
most
to get
points out of
a
it.
better feel for how the whole scoring system works and how you can game the system a little bit. So just to remind you, each squadron has a Phantom Menace card. Actually, each player, each squadron, we'll check.
One squadron, I think.
Sorry, it's one squadron, one per squadron. So each squadron has a Phantom Menace card, and they can play it to swap out of their matchup. So Nick, in this instance, has taken one look at Sunfac and decided he wants no part of it, and he's tagged in Ricky, and Ricky will instead be throwing a Sinker Swarm into the Nantex. So let's
why
get
don't we
to
swap
that.
this to the correct side of the board whilst we do this?
Let's not.
Noid is giving me an ugly face. So the names and lists are on the wrong side, and we're not swapping them.
We're not swapping.
That's what you get with second-rate temporary commentators, I'm afraid.
Am I second rate now?
Normal
I've been
service.
upgraded.
Normal service will be resumed when Nick takes control of the stream again next week.
Yeah.
Time is going on now.
Definitely ready for a
That's the
timer.
start of
Timer's
the round.
running.
Not only a Chaos Squadron playing dirty tricks by swapping the match, they're also doing it at the last possible moment so that the Sinker Swarm can waste as much
Yeah,
time
absolutely.
as possible during set.
Unless wants to run to time, wants to start late.
Thanks, Chris. We have them on the wrong side. Hi, Clive and Ulfric, just joining the chat there. This is a 186 takeover of Firestorm Firecast for one day only.
It is a significant
is-
downgrade to the usual standards, but we're
Nick
here.
is playing at the moment, so we've kindly volunteered to take over and try and do at least half as good a job as he normally does.
I've missed 8 points of upgrade in this list. Ah, it's because, yeah. It's not a Naboo Brave, whatever he is. It's Rick Ollier. I'm glad I got to say that on stream.
So yeah, PS advantage still with, or initiative should I say, advantage still with Mark here, but all of a sudden a lot more arcs to try and dodge. Those Nantex
Still only one arc.
with 4 hull, and I'm just going to keep going. And 3 of 8 dice are fragile. He's going to have perfect knowledge with Sunfac, and the only ship he'll have to worry about with Chertek is Rick. So those decisions to tractor beam should be relatively easy. You should know whether he's going to be able to pass it off or not. But just the sheer weight of fire coming in from Ricky, who is a very good player as well, I think is going to make this a hard matchup for the Nantex.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the last thing they want to see generally, right? Anytime you take Nantex to a Swiss tournament, the thing you're trying to avoid is probably all of the beef. That said, he's got the ability to, like classic ace play, if he clips one at the edge, especially with the ability to tractor beam it, he can put some real hurt into them very quickly.
Yeah. So, as of the FAQ last week, Sinker requires 2 tractor beams to be tracted. That's not changed. Sunfac's ability triggers off tracted, so would require both of those tractor beams to be present to get the bonus dice. And the change with the FAQ is that the reduction in agility also now does not kick in until the ship becomes tractored. So one tractor beam on sinker effectively will do nothing.
Chris in the chat says it's a simple button to swap these two players. I believe that, but I do not know where that button is.
Chris, if you can press that button for us, go for it.
When
Otherwise,
he turns up, when he turns up with
pipe down. I don't know.
when he arrives with my cup of tea, he can press the button
Yeah.
for us. It's getting chippy here. We're 3.5 rounds in.
So I think in terms of, we've had some excellent matches so far, but in terms of what the meta is going to look like over the coming months, this might be quite close. I think probably the more common Sys build is going to be Sunfac plus the mini droid swarm. But I think can the Nantex deal with the Sinker swarm is a really important question for
absolutely.
the meta.
And interesting here that Ricky's got rocks. Now I wonder if that's a decision on his point or whether it's a simple case of he only brought one set of obstacles and swapped from his extended list. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that works out. I think he's got a pretty good turn zero. Like he's got a lot of the rocks are out of the way and in corners. I'm assuming without having paid too much attention to it, certainly the top two are placed by him.
Yeah, and you'd presume that Ricky brought the small rocks.
So maybe we'll check with him at the end of the game if this doesn't go to time. I think a swarm and it started late. It's going to time. But yeah, we'll have hopefully a chance to catch up with him later and see his thoughts on it and his rationale for bringing rocks. I think it probably favours the Nantex. Anytime you can take away shots, if you can drop a torrent onto a rock, it's going to be hugely in your favour.
Yeah, although I agree with that. But I think if Ricky did indeed bring the small rocks, I think for a swarm, that's probably what you want. I think the gas clouds are nice, but just taking up less space on the board. You know, those rocks are so small they're effectively not there. You know, he's until he's on.
Yeah, they're meaningless until they mean everything.
But I don't think it's a terrible choice. I think is what I'm trying to say. I think.
I'll tell you what, look at this colour-coded dials from Ricky as well.
Yeah, it's like he came to be on stream. I mean, I don't know if he is very egotistical or not.
I mean, he's got a face for radio.
Ricky is a beautiful man. I'm looking at him now. I can tell you, after looking at Lloyd for 3 rounds, it's a breath of fresh air.
It's enough to make you wish for blindness. So Cormac in the stream has said that Ricky was using clouds previously but found that it was beneficial for his opponent, which I think is fair enough, right? It gives people so much more chance to where they go and to bounce around. Charles correctly calling me on the glass houses, 100% spot on. I've got a face only a mother could love, but I've not yet met that mother.
It's hard to understand whether Charles is having a go at you or a go at me having a go at you. Could be either. Yeah, Cormac, I agree. I think there's quite a few swarms. I played against quite a few swarms with kind of AC lists and when I was playing the Jedi, and quite often the chat at the end of the game between me and my opponent, and we'd kind of get to the point of, I wonder if small rocks are better. I don't think AC lists want a board that is full of gas clouds, but certainly if they've brought 3 big rocks and they can put the gas clouds around the edge of the board to provide a screen, I think that's the perfect setup for them. So Chertek there turning away from the joust. I think probably the right choice.
I mean, yeah. Also, I think, bringing rocks with 5 ship list, right? It's 6. Rick's somewhere at the top of the screen.
Rick's cloaked, yeah.
Rick is just off screen for us, but is up there. I think bringing bringing rocks of any kind, right, when you've got that many ships, is an indication that you are confident you know what you're doing. So anytime you run into a player that's got a ton of ships, like 5, 6, 7 ships, and has brought rocks, working the assumption they definitely know what they're doing. And I think that's accurate for Ricky, right? Ricky has
absolutely no idea.
Yeah, there's no middle ground. There are a 1 or a 10. Ricky's a 10.
So sort of slow roll start there, and
so interesting. Sengrievous out towards Rick. Rick has turned away, so you can see him now coming down the top of the board. So it does give Grievous the opportunity to get into Rick's flank.
Yeah, I mean, Rick's quite manoeuvrable. He can always sweep around that rock with the 3 hard next turn if he wants to, but I think from that position he's going to be a bit worried about Sunfat coming in down the middle. So I presume that the play for Ricky here is to keep Rick on that board edge. Rick and Ricky is not going to confuse me at all during the course of the game. But Ricky, I think, wants to keep Rick on that board edge for now, get him behind the swarm, and make Mark have to deal with the swarm, not give him Rick to pick up.
Charles wins X-Wing Bingo by saying the banned word in the chat. Today's banned word, as is always, is Jump Master. And yes, we know that the player details are on the wrong side. That was because we entered them in advance to try and get ahead of schedule and had a 50-50 chance of getting it right. And we were 100% wrong 100% of the time on a 50-50.
And also quite lazy, so I'm not going to swap it.
Yeah,
but you'll work it out. The guy with the Republic list is the guy moving the Republic ships.
Accurate.
That's
yeah.
how to tell.
His name is either Rick or Ricky, depending
on what we.
We don't have the player side swapped. They put their ships on the wrong side. Do you remember that from first edition, where the initiative thing was a player then could choose which half of the, or side of the board they took, and literally no one ever did it. Yeah, I think it was. Did they take it out of the tournament rules? But it was in the original thing where you could set everything up and be like, yeah, I want to be over there now. Let's move everything. I would like this game to go to time.
Yeah. I don't know if it was in the tournament or not, but I certainly remember people suggesting that the time to use it was when you were in the middle of a 20 table.
Yeah, absolutely. Please take your 8 ships and go all the way around these 20 tables.
Whilst we're at a sort of quiet moment in the game, obviously important early turns. The approach is going to be absolutely key here, particularly for Mark. How are we sounding? Levels sound okay? Seems to be getting quite a lot of noise on maybe the headset mic.
Yeah, let us know if I'm coming across too loud. Paul has proactively just dropped my volumes anyway, so we'll see. But yeah, if there's problems with the volume at all, if there's problems with the video, let us know. We can't really fix any of those, but we'll pass them to somebody who knows what they're doing. So I think Ricky's conveniently doing this just on time. I think the important thing for the Republic here is always not to open their flank up, right? So what he doesn't want is Grievous hammering around the board edge and getting into his side. Likewise, he doesn't want Chertek doing the same.
Yeah, you want to keep your arcs as wide as possible. I think, although it's nice to focus fire, I think he can afford to have areas of the board that have 2 or 3 overlapping arcs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And cover a wider range rather than try and get everything pointing at exactly the same point. Thank you, Simran. Irritatingly clear was exactly what we were going for.
I think you're the clear one. But yeah, so we see here Ricky just flipping the board. So by turning in and bringing that 45-degree arc, he's made the board essentially much smaller. If I had the ability to draw on the screen and show you. But essentially he's made it like a 2x2 map almost. And just condensing the area so the Nantek's got less room to bounce around in.
Yeah, he's screened off obviously the area behind him, which is going to be difficult to get into, and this whole sort of edge of the board is now going to be very difficult for Mark to get back into. Whilst the manoeuvrability is nice on the Nanteks, they do lack the ability to kind of change direction without a genuine boost, which does limit them a bit, makes them a little bit more predictable. In terms of an ace ship, they're going to find it slightly harder to arc dodge and truly get behind you. Obviously, all of this is true until they're in range 1, at which point
they can do anything they like.
They just move you instead. So, interesting as well, and will be important for people when they're playing against Nantex. You can see here that Mark's set up currently with the arc pointing away from Ricky's list, and that's very deliberate. To trigger the ability, you need to be able to rotate the arc. You cannot take the tractor beam and keep your arc still. So by keeping the arc pointing away, he gives himself the maximum number of options when he does turn in terms of where to put the arc to ensure that he can pass off that tractor beam, start moving stuff around, ideally putting things on rocks.
I was just thinking, I liked this 3-banking from Grievous, but actually Ricky's 1 bank across. Grievous doesn't want to be in front of the entire list, right? So I think it's actually a good play by both, right? Ricky playing a central thing, giving himself a chance to get shots on Rick, and then adjusting to sorry, Mark being sensible, adjusting to Ricky's shifting, like the bank barrel roll across, and then seeing in advance that what he doesn't want to do is get himself stressed, get himself in a bad situation, and give himself no choices but to joust into everything with Grievous.
Yeah, I think Mark's trying to achieve that kind of classic ace thing of against the swarm of drawing them into the rocks. You know, they're gonna.
Yeah.
It's incredibly difficult to not get shot in this game. There's a lot of arcs. They're taking up a lot of space on the board. But what you want to do, if it's all possible, is make sure that that first engage happens with the swarm heading into the rocks, so their options the turn after are going to be very limited. And I think he's done quite a nice job of that so far. You worry slightly about Grievous's ability to get out of this spot without taking a lot of fire.
Potentially, I think Ricky might have given himself the choice to just sort of 2 or 3 straight all of the Torrens forwards. And then Sunfac has to turn out of the fight almost, otherwise he'll be in front of everything. The same is true for Grievous almost.
Yeah, I wonder whether... I mean, if you one banked, I wonder whether you split. I wonder whether the two sort of further in V19s can go straight and cover the centre of the board, whilst the bottom 2 bank out to cover that bottom
just
corner.
To cover that little like one turn from Sunfac barrel roll across.
Dividing shots against the against these guys is not perfect, but I think you don't, as you say, you don't want to, having done such a nice job of keeping the game in front of you, you don't want to suddenly give them a flank.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should they pick correctly? I'd be tempted here. I think Grievous is in a bad spot. I would be tempted to actually bank up forward and just focus everything on Grievous. So I don't think he can get out of that situation.
Yeah, he's not stressed, so he's got his whole dial open in front of him. It's a good dial when you're not stressed. And so I think he's accepting maybe taking a point of damage from Rick here to offset having all of his options open next turn. So it looks like we have Ricky's Rick into Grievous. That's going to get difficult. Ricky, it turns out, did not bring dice into this game, just collected them from the last round. He's a pro.
So although we have changed from extended to hyperspace,
yep.
And it took me 3 times to get that right. Ricky has been running this Sinker Swarm as his extended list this morning, which is within the rules of the tournament. He's currently, I think, 1 and 2, which I'm a bit surprised about, and I think he's not thrilled by.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're both he and I are of the opinion that this Sinker Swarm is a very solid list and will normally do you quite well. I think from what he's saying, he's been a little bit unlucky. Feels he's been a little bit unlucky with the earlier evade dice on the B19s, losing a few early.
Just going forward a step, I think Cormac mentioned in the chat he likes where Sunfac's arc is at the moment. So I was thinking the same thing, right? The Sunfac can just 1 turn right, next turn barrel roll down the board, but he's unlikely to end up at range 1. At which point he's not going to be passing his token off. And if Ricky calls that, Sunfac's going to be a 2 agility sat in front of 3 or 4 torrents plus an arc.
I think Sun is. He'll obviously know in advance whether he can
rotate, right? Yeah.
Afford to take the tractor beam. But if he, without that reposition, he may end up sat in arc and stuff, and then it's just going to be one focus and kind of cross your fingers.
So I wonder if. Again, this barrel from Ricky has forced Mark to turn Sunfac away. And if he has, then that's perfect, right? If Ricky's got a third of Mark's list running away from him, then 2 guns are really going to struggle to put anything meaningful into any of this list.
Ricky, any damage done that turn? Yep, so just to confirm, no damage on that turn. Oh, thank you, Ben. For a moment there, I thought we were getting complimented by a complete stranger, but then I realised it was Ben.
I mean, I'd say it's more likely that people that don't know us say nice things about us than people that do.
But perhaps not that we're doing well at the commentary.
So we've got Chris Burnett back on stream as well. Good luck at Worlds. I assume I won't see you beforehand. Hopefully we'll see Tin Squadron here next year. In fact, if you guys want to host, because the curtain, well, since curtain is close to them, it's like 3.5 hours away. But he lives in Cornwall, so it's as close as you get. But yeah, like somewhere like the curtain venue would be really good because it would be able to accommodate many more squadrons, albeit not central.
But people can travel.
Yeah, I mean we managed it. So do you think on this turn, Ricky just is conservative with the torrents?
I think so. I think the burn of execution is all on Mark here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you've got two choices from Mark's point of view. I think you can play completely conservatively and turn everything away, which might save you this turn, but it's going to get harder and harder. And you really risk being caught in a corner with any one of your ships.
Yeah, it looks really simple, but Ricky's done a really good job of just condensing the board, right?
Yeah, and the other alternative is just to pick a direction you think Ricky's going to go and go hard for that. So if you think he's going upboard to catch Grievous, turn the Nantex in, and really going to gamble hard on that.
Yeah, I think one thing that looks interesting for me, I think like Grievous, Sunpack almost has to turn away, it feels like. Grievous is in an interesting position, he's got some choices. Now you could go hunting Rick, but you don't want to trade Sunpack for Rick. That's not a good trade for you. But I think Chertek is in a really good position to get into the side of Sinker.
Yeah, Chertek can probably afford to hard turn in, can't he? And he's not likely to be taking too much fire, and that gives him a nice straight run in next turn. If Ricky ends up going straight with everything, which it looks like he may do, but we'll obviously wait to see, then there is the opportunity for Grievous to get out by just going as fast as he can forward and try and getting in the side of this list.
Yeah, because the Torrents do have a blue 1 forward. I'm surprised that wasn't the option.
That feels like a brave move from Grievous, but if he's done it, it's gonna turn out well, I think.
Which one is? It's only brave if it's bad, right?
Yes.
If it's good, it's brilliant.
So I think I'm right in saying that they've got a 5 straight.
Yes, the Belubub has a white 5 straight.
Yeah, so the 5 straight boost is looking beautiful right now. Obviously, with complete knowledge of where everything has ended up.
From this angle, I can't quite tell if the 5 straight would clip Rick or not, but Mark will have a much better view of that than we do.
So Ricky actually there committing quite hard for Grievous here. Has given Chertek the opportunity to approach a bit. Chertek taking the boost in there. I don't know that he's going to get out of arc of those back to Torrents, so it could take a bit of damage
That
here.
looks like he can pass, right?
Do you think that's just range 1?
I think it is inside range 1.
Well, in which case, that looks like a very nice position to be in.
And I think for Ricky, that's the kind of thing you have to accept, right?
Yeah.
What he might get is a chunk of Grievous in return.
Yeah, I think that's the choice, right? He could have been more conservative with Sinker. He could have banked in. He'd have still got his rerolls, and he would have made that a very scary thing for Chertek to do. But you're dividing your fire. And
a slower bank as well from Sinker would have taken away most of the rerolls from Torrents.
Yeah.
And so I think the primary thing is always maximum shots.
Yes.
So Rick just escapes. I suspect very strongly he's not going to stay there. So now he has to play the game as what has Sunfac done? What did Sunfac ever do for you?
Really nice set of moves so far by Mark. I'm very impressed. I think it could all go horribly wrong if he parks Sun at range 2 of the swarm, but currently Grievous has dodged 2 of the arcs, maybe out of range even of Sinker.
And Tommy in the chat just asking where did Chertek rotate his arc? He rotated to the front. So he has Bullseye potentially and Mobile Arc definitely on Sinker. Now this is more interesting. This feels aggressive. I didn't think you'd do this at all. So and worth remembering with the new rules reference, if Sunfac does track beam himself to the right, even if he keeps Chertek in arc, he can't pass both track beams off, right? He can. Oh no, he could give 1-2.
He can pass Chertek's off, and then he can retract beam Chertek. So
yeah,
that might be the play here: is to barrel roll across, get out of those front 2 torrents.
I think his arc is pointed to the front though. which makes it hot.
Yeah, makes it less good.
An old man has just magically appeared from nowhere and molested me. Hello, Simon Tourney. I thought for a second someone had just wandered in off the street, and he did.
Yes. Oh, now that is a brave direction.
So that is
Okay.
going to trade, or try and trade, a chunk of Sunfac for a chunk of
Rick.
Rick Ollier. And I've got to say, Ricky looks pretty happy about that.
Yeah, I think Rick Ollie's in trouble here, right? He's about to be barrel rolled back in front of Grievous. He'll have no agility. We went faster, so he'll have
Or-
1 agility.
Onto the arc. Does he fit onto the rock if he goes right and forward?
He
big
might be
judgment.
on the rock, but also on the rock and taking maximum 1, maybe no shots. I don't know. I wonder if you just put him back in
So he
front
wants
of
Grievous to hit him. Nice.
Grievous without manoeuvre is going to have.
Yeah.
Rick's going to have 1 agility here.
No, Rick went faster, right?
That's why he's got 1. Because of attractive in and outmaneuver.
Oh, god, yeah, both.
But if you trade Rick for Sun, you are 100% happy about that.
Yeah, and he's taken the evade on Sunfac, which I'm not sure I love. So range 1, Sunfac into a very sad Rick Ollier. I'm
that
seeing
looks like a lot
paint.
of
I'm
paint.
seeing paint everywhere.
That looks like 4 hits to me. And takes 2.
Yep, so shields down on Rick.
Rick does have regen in this list, but needs to be alive to be able to use it. A less impressive attack there from
Looks like
Rick.
1, which Sunfac's last at.
So Sun looking okay so far. He's taking an awful lot of shots this round. But so far so good.
So yeah, question in the chat about why was he at 4 dice. So Sunfac has a 2 dice turret. Range 1 makes it 3. When he's shooting a tracked opponent, makes it 4. He would have been 5 if it was in his bullseye arc. So here comes Grievous following up. Oh, it doesn't look good.
Has his rerolls from his pilot ability.
Looks better.
And now looks amazing. That is a dead Sunfac.
No, that's a dead Rick. That's a
Rick,
very
even.
dead Rick.
So this is still fine for Ricky, as long as he gets rid of,
He needs to trade for
Sun.
Sunfac.
Yeah. Or at least get him down to 1.
So then Chertek. Range on primary. Looks like 2 shields into Sinker.
He's going to decide whether to suspend the focus or not. And yeah, it does not spend, takes 2 shields. Gotta say, I can't see Sun living through this.
But Chertek is now an ace. Spends evade,
There's
takes
the evade,
nothing.
nothing so far.
So now just 4 torrents to shoot. So I measure the back one. So 2 dice, 1 reroll focus. Ricky refusing to use dice trays. Looks like 2 damage into Sunfac.
Oh, 2 crits. Ricky looking pretty happy about that. Next shot at range 2.
In case it matters, damage center array, loose stabilizer.
1 shot with a reroll. 2 hits.
Looks like 1 more.
And that
Nope.
is a dead Sunfac, just like that.
So 80 points for Ricky.
But, as you say,
So you've still got Grievous and Chertek as aces.
and Grievous is going to take a couple more incoming shots here.
And all safe over
Shrugs
there.
off the first one. And I think maybe the final torrent doesn't have arc. So yeah, your comment about Chertek being an ace is a fair one.
And to be fair, Grievous is now an ace as well.
Yeah. But although taking Rick off the table removes the highest initiative ship, it doesn't
Doesn't deal with
really,
a lot of the beef, yeah.
Doesn't really sort of cope with the swarm element.
And with 47 minutes, Mark has got some work to do because he is 34 points down. I just need to show this because it's in the dice tray cam. I feel like this is an accurate assessment of what happened in that round. No dice in there, but lots of tractor beam tokens, which I think sums up Rick's day. So yeah, Grievous 2-3 forward, 2 banks on his dial to clear stress. Doesn't necessarily need to. He's got the health and the durability potentially to get through it, but I think it's not a great dial, right? So anytime you can clear stress, you almost want to.
I think the problem here for Mark is the rear arc on
Sinker is going to be just harass Chertek.
Yeah, it makes turning Chertek into chase much harder. Whereas Sun could conceivably be close to taking out a V19 around, Chertek just doesn't have the same hitting power. But it's far from over. That soulless one Grievous can take a bit of killing.
Chertek has quite a lot of hitting power, right? When you perform a primary attack, if the defender is tracted, you may reroll 2 attack dice. So double Predator, presumably with a focus each turn. What he needs to be careful of is all of the torrents turning into him, right? Because, for example, they could all just one turn. I think it's unlikely.
Yeah, I think with Grievous being there, you don't want to
show him your back,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
A bit more of a cautious game compared to the ones we saw earlier in the day, but I think rightly so. This matchup is all about the positioning. If Ricky overcommits, gives Mark a couple of rounds of getting good unanswered shots, then he starts to lose the game. And Mark really cannot make a mistake. We saw a slightly bold choice of move and subsequent reposition with Sunfac there, and the result was a dead Sunfac. Chat seems to be fairly convinced that was a good trade for Ricky. I think the thing for me that confirms it as such a good trade is not only the sort of relative points values and importance of the ships, but the fact that Ricky was able to achieve it without getting in a bad position.
Yeah, absolutely.
If he got that trade, but Grievous was flanking, then I think that's a much less good trade. But to get the trade and to keep the good board position, I think means that at the moment it's his to lose. But there is a long way to go. And the V19s probably are going to, either this turn or next turn, have a less good offensive turn.
So we've got Ricky turning in here just to block some of his options.
Grievous now either doing a balloon move and bumping, or...
So again, perfect information, right? I quite like the idea of red, the turret in top right, going a slightly faster bank. I think he 2-banked both, right? I'd have been inclined to 2-bank red and 1-bank yellow just to stagger your arcs a little bit. Because I think if
you run the risk there of, if he goes straight, you get the block with red, but I'm not convinced you get a shot with yellow. Yeah. And then Grievous can tank a couple of shots.
But again, it looks like Ricky's left a big enough space for Sinker to just drop in between the green torrent and the rock, right?
Yes. And I think he is at a very slight angle, so I think he will slide into that gap.
Yeah, Chris the chat saying he did 1-bank red. I would have liked a more aggressive bank there, just in case. So you want to try and get the block with red, right? And then everyone else have shots. Whereas I think what he might do is get a block and then have 1 or 2 shots. And the Sinker just nicely dropping in next to it.
So yellow, the only one without rerolls, but also the one who's least likely to have shots, so not a problem. And exactly as you said, so here, if that red torrent is slightly further forward, and as we say, this is, us sitting here with nothing else to do, having a cup of tea. it's always much easier when commentating than when actually in it. But slightly further forward from that red torrent, and I think the yellow torrent gets a shot, whereas now I'm not convinced it has one.
And the chat just saying that the torrent that has an evade barrel roll should have a stress. That is accurate, but we are just commentators today. We're not getting involved in rules, so we'll leave it to the players.
Yeah, we're not confident in our ability to commentate, work out how the streaming is working, and accurately keep an eye on the board state. And we'd prefer...
Or string together coherent sentences, literally any of it.
We'd prefer that the players, as everyone does all the time in games, make one or two mistakes and aren't interrupted, rather than us going up and interrupting them about things that turn out to be our mistake rather than theirs.
Yeah, absolutely. So more in snare fun. So that torrent drops to 1 agility, probably gets shot twice.
I think you probably just keep it there. Now, it's a big if, but if Mark can take that torrent off the board before it fires, Grievous gets out of this round without taking too much damage, and this is looking like a much more even game.
3 die pretty fully modded. Rerolls 1 with Chertek's ability.
Oh, that's unlucky.
Spends for 2.
Oh, and the natural evade, that is unlucky. Got to expect more than 1 damage there.
Everyone's a good pilot when they roll perfectly.
Yes. So, making a big play about measuring arc to different ships, but clearly is going to shoot the tractor beam wrong.
It's the wrong player playing for time. It's the sinker swarm who's to play for time.
I presume
so
it's shooting
just
the tractor beam
range
wrong.
Oh no, it's
No, it's going to shoot at the arc. Interesting. I suppose with only 1 damage on it, you're not likely to kill it, so take the more dice. That looks like 2 hits? 1 hit. And another damage onto Sinker. Okay, Grievous needs to cross his fingers a little bit here, I think. My experience of playing the Sinker Swarm has been that Sinker is the least of your problems. Actually, without his reroll from his ability, he's by far the most variable in terms of damage output.
But he's also the linchpin that keeps everything else going,
yes,
right?
Yeah. But the
I think
so we're firing at Grievous, which I think is the right choice. Focus fire. 3
So
hits
3
is
from
not
Sinker.
bad,
Oh.
and takes all of them. So with
now
4
range 2
health
for the evading
left,
torrent.
and 2 more attacks coming in, needs to roll some evades. Okay, 1 hit, and avoid evaded. So he's going to live through this turn. And 2 hits there. And that bump really costing.
So Grievous
So
down
as
to
Chris
2.
said there, yep, Grievous was in a bad spot. The lack of safe
That is
way
their
to
stress,
run
right?
away
It's
and
always the
clear the
stress.
stress.
The issue for the belly ops is always clearing stress. They need so frequently to reposition and mod, and as soon as they do, their dial just shuts down on them. They're bad X-wings at that point.
So going back for Mark with perfect hindsight is the question of, did Grievous need the focus that turn? If the plan was going to be to bring Sun in front of the squad, he's likely to take all the shots. Obviously it reduces your offense, but it keeps you maneuverable for the next rounds. But I think I'm right in saying that the focus is what killed Rick. So
Yeah, and again, the thing about accepting stress, right? With Grievous, if again, always perfect information, but if he'd 4 or 5 forwarded it, he takes no shots with Grievous.
yes. Yeah. And then has next turn to run away.
So now again, this turn is an interesting one, right? Because the torrents might all have to turn around. So if they do, yeah, they still get their rerolls, but they're much less potent without any mods.
Yeah, but I think he's far enough. I think Ricky's far enough up that doesn't matter. I think a K turn from Sinker here, and Talon rolls at least from red and yellow, will get them in the side arc, give them their re-rolls, and get Ricky's list pointing them back in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Slightly hard to judge, but if yellow is overlapping Grievous, which I think he is because he didn't have the shot, then his Talon Roll will fit behind. So if you Talon Roll red and yellow to the right hand side, blue
again, just
looks
put
like
pressure,
he can
right?
Talon Roll in front of Grievous. And then maybe the 3k with looks good with the green guy, and then you have the entire list pointing back.
Yep.
Shertek's in trouble if he turns in, and they're all still beautifully positioned beside each other for next turn. Meanwhile, Grievous can't really Talon Roll in this, sleep in this situation. I wouldn't have thought. It'd be a
Yeah,
brave play,
so
certainly.
the chat mentioning his options for turning around. He doesn't have a K-turn, he just has 3 sloops. And again, puts him back in the same problem of next turn. He's super predictable.
The sloop feels like just admitting you're going to lose him and trading him for.
And yeah, again, the chat mentioning Ricky putting the stress down. We take back all the bad things we said about him.
Perfect. So no Talon Roll from that blue.
It was there the whole time, it was just hidden under the evade. It wasn't.
So no Talon Roll from blue, but other than that, I think you still go with the plan.
I mean, blue's undamaged, right? It was green that took 1.
Yeah.
So blue could just 1/4 target lock if it wants to and save it for next turn. It's not a list that desperately needs target locks, but why not give
or
yourself the
take
option?
the evade, one forwards, take the evade, keep him on the board, don't run the risk of him.
I'd be inclined maybe to just 1 bank him left, just in case Grievous gets aggressive and turns in. Grievous has a 1 hard.
Yep.
And again, if it doesn't work out, you just 2-turn it next time and it's coming back into the fight again. So yeah, another interesting one. I think the Nantex are proving that they're not unbeatable. But they definitely make you think and work, right? Like,
Yeah, I think we've seen 2 very different lists. I think that I don't know that they were ever going to be. Well, I think the concern for everybody when the articles were coming out were the thought of the Nantex with afterburners. It's in. I think I'm right in saying it's in the pack with them.
Targeting computer is, and there might be one other mod. I don't know if it's that one.
And certainly there's a quick build card with Sun with afterburners, so it's clearly something
The
that
3 threats
was
quick
in
build card.
It's clearly something that was in the designer's mind. I think without that, they are slightly easier to predict and to manage. Certainly can't do crazy things like going 9 straight across the board.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think they're where that we all thought they were going to be, which is that they're a significant problem for aces and much less of a problem for beefy swarm lists. It would have been interesting to see how different it would have been with 1 Nantex and a mini swarm, whether that would have tipped things in Mark's favour. And equally, I think Mark would have been at a massive advantage had Chaos Squadron not sensibly played their round swap ability.
Yeah, don't forget, Mark was in an incredible matchup, and Chaos played their card to duck out of it and swap Ricky in with what is probably as close to as hard counter as you get. Look at this, though. Talon Roll, K-turn, everything fitting together nicely. There's a bold early claim in the chat that Nantex will go down in price once they've been out for a while. I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm saying it's bold.
I think it's very early days. I think that they are not an easy ship to play. Anything with 4 health, 3 agility, and 1 token is going to get punished. Oh, that's unfortunate for Ricky there. That K-turn.
That is curse of the chat. The previous message in the chat: Ricky flying that swarm like a pro.
Well,
and then bumps a K-turn.
What he's done is not done the Talon Roll like I told him to. If he had, everything would have been beautiful.
Ricky has the face of a man that just messed up on stream. But fairly minor. I think he's good.
And yep, as you predicted, the 1 bank. So that V19 is going to be a little bit out of the fight, but I don't think it matters too much. And very nice playing for the block there on Grievous should he do something short.
And see, ordinarily, I think Grievous wouldn't be too concerned about this, right? He has a lot of health. He has his reroll if he's being shot out of arc from the title. Yeah. But he's down to 2 health, right? He can't afford it anymore. So let's see if he one-hearted Grievous. He did not. He's being sensible. Turns it away.
Just safe-ish this turn, but I suppose this gives him the hard turn back in next turn. I don't mind that as a position. I think
Yeah, so what he
you
doesn't want to
probably
do-
accept that you're getting a shot here from that gold squadron. Hope it doesn't kill you and stay unstressed for next turn.
Yeah.
I think that's the way to go. Oh, disaster! He's bumped his Nantex. Whatever will he do?
Yeah, I think just again looking at the chat, I think the safest thing to say is it's really hard to predict how the metas are going to shift and how new ships are going to influence it. Right? It's really really hard. Just as everyone was saying, aces are unbeatable. All of a sudden, just beef is everywhere.
Yeah, I think that the Sinker Swarm is in a really good place right now. It was clearly strong before the Nantex arrived. It's capable of beating the Nantex,
Yep.
and the Nantex are going to reduce the amount of genuine evasive AC lists
Yeah.
in the game, which is something that would normally be a hard matchup for the Sinker Swarm. So if you're sitting in a position where there's a new list in the game, your list can deal with it relatively easily, and it causes a massive problem for your biggest enemy. I think they're a very sensible choice. I think if I was going to Worlds or any other big tournament in the next kind of month or so, I'd be thinking very carefully about whether the Sinker Swarm was the most sensible choice.
So that was nothing from Sinker's primary.
No tractor beam pass.
No, I think Grievous is just out of arc.
Was
So his arc was to the left.
right, so he
Rotates to the right.
couldn't sort of keep it there to pass to the
I think
turret.
in hindsight, what looked like the better option was rotate to the front and then barrel roll the invading torrent in front of you again.
I'm not sure that torrent is in the front arc, to be honest. So a lot of dice there, but maybe not a lot of damage.
Yeah, it looked like Mark got away with that one.
Rattled through those dice rolls very quickly. Pretty sure there was no more damage into the Sinker Swarm, and it looks like Mark may have gotten out of that turn unscathed as well.
So again, now the choices for Ricky are: does he want to commit to trying to box Grievous in? Does he want to try and close down Chertek?
So this is now a more interesting turn, isn't it? Ricky's list is limited, it's got the stress, and Grievous actually isn't in a terrible position to turn back in here with the 1 or 2 hard boost get in the side. I wonder whether Ricky just keeps the stress and 2 hards down into the bottom of the board.
And is willing to trade half a torrent for all of Grievous, potentially, yeah.
The downside of that, obviously, is then that you're stressed
and facing a board edge.
A board edge. I think he's got enough health and enough ships on the board to do that. You kind of trade position for a turn and to take Grievous off the board. But there's other options.
Just as we spend a little bit of time looking at dials, I'm just going to have a quick look and see how we're doing for scores. So this is round 4. We've had one result come in first so far, sorry. Would anyone in the stream like to have a guess who they think has submitted their results so far? While we're doing it, so ignoring this Yeah, everyone in the chat is 100% right, it's Phil. So, looking back at previous scores, so just picking out a couple of names. So Dale won all 3 of his games with Vader and Riyadh, played his bounty card and claimed it. Joel North has 3 points, lost his first game, won his second 2 and claimed his bounty. Phil won all 3 of his games in extended and claimed a bounty, and indeed has won his first game of hyperspace. So Phil is 4 wins out of 4 and a bounty. Philip Pond won his first 3 games and claimed his bounty, so for 4 wins. And Tom Forster the same thing, won his first 3 games, claimed his bounty for 4 wins. And indeed Zachary, who we had on stream last game, is also 3 wins and had claimed his bounty. So there are a handful of players as well with 3 points. So they may have winning records. So for example, Piers Horney from Zombie Squadron has won all of his games but hadn't claimed a bounty, so has 3 points. Question on stream, how many rounds are we playing today? We're playing 6 rounds. We played 3 rounds of extended, now we're playing 3 rounds of hyperspace. A lot of players, particularly I think the ones running Jedi, are sticking with their lists. But it was submitted at the start and people had the opportunity to submit an extended list and then a hyperspace list. So as Dale had Riyadh in initially, he swapped out. But if quite a few people are sticking with the same list for both formats.
So Ricky here kind of choosing the middle ground between my keep the stress hard in plan and the preferred options of the chat, which was to clear and turn away. I wonder whether this is sort of a little bit caught between 2 stools and he should have either been more aggressive or more conservative. This is kind of a little bit of a halfway house. Obviously, if he catches Chertek here, then what do I know? 25 minutes. Ricky there just asking for the time on the round.
I think he just wanted to hear your voice.
Trying to be a little bit quieter. A couple of times Mark's turned around and had a look in our direction. I hope we're not talking so loud he can hear what we're saying.
We are quite close to the tables.
But it may just be a, well, this is difficult and I'm on stream kind of a look.
Yeah. But I think again, actually, he's having a good game. Right?
Very nice positioning. He's got to be happy with how this turn's looking. You can tractor beam that V19 now. That I'm pretty sure that isn't the damaged one.
No, it was
so
either blue or green.
Yeah. So in tractor beam, with a bit of luck, take it off the board, and then
could boost him forward, but I think probably wants the bullseye just to try and take it off the table.
V barrels, and then he's got a range 1 bullseye from Chertek and a range 1 from Grievous.
Taking him out of shooting Grievous.
Okay.
And if that's dodge the arc, actually, that's pretty nice. Yeah, having 1 shot and taking no shots is better than having 1 shot and taking 2.
I would have been more aggressive, but that probably would have been wrong.
It's not like Chertek has to win the game for him at this stage. Plenty of aid, and that is 1 into red.
So crit there. Who actually red's now got 2 damage.
Direct, yep.
So I think I'm right in saying that he had a damage already.
Okay.
I wonder whether the more aggressive play was the better one. He's still taking fire. Although I suppose Grievous has a shot. No, fair enough.
And it's going to be an outmaneuver shot as well.
I hadn't appreciated that Grievous had the shot over.
Does Ricky have that arc? He does not.
Okay, I take everything back. That was absolutely the right move from Mark. Some
fun shenanigans with bounties and Phantom Menace. So again, just to remind everyone, every player has a bounty card. Each squadron can play a maximum 1 bounty card around. Ashok from, I think, the Mug Squadron, Mug and Meeple and Gravesend. There's a Mug Squadron and a Meeple Squadron, just to confuse me.
It's Mug.
Yeah, so the Mug Squadron, he played his bounty. He really fancied his matchup, and then his opponent Phantom Menace out of it, and he played somebody else and lost. Which is a
High
fun little
level
wrinkle.
nonsense.
It is some high level nonsense. It's some fun.
So we're getting towards the end around here. Quite a few
results starting to trickle in.
results starting to trickle in. I think Alex of the 186 Squadron has lost 2 double fire sprays. We'll confirm that with him in a moment.
Yeah, I think again it's another one of these games, right? We've had what is it? This is game 4, and every game actually I've been really pleased with the quality of play. The matchups have all been interesting. Even when we had a hard counter in the previous round, I thought it was still an interesting game.
Yeah, we haven't seen any sort of major errors. There haven't been any moves that I've struggled to understand. Nobody's flown onto any rocks or off the board. You know, it's been very good quality play and interesting list so far.
A good standard of tournament in a really good atmosphere.
Yeah. And Mark here, still very much in this. I think although jammed as hard as you can be into that corner, is in not a bad position. I think maybe the banks last turn from Ricky were slightly conservative. He now, if he gets red out of the way, he can hard turn in with Sinker and the yellow gold squadron, which is going to put Mark in a slightly difficult spot. I do wonder whether Mark should have taken both shots into that V19 this turn. I wonder if he just needs to take ships off the board. He'd have had 8 dice into a 1 agility
yeah,
full health
62
ship.
points down, so he needs to get, I mean, a lot of torrents, right? It's the problem, because they're so cheap.
But just in terms of, I mean, if he doesn't kill it, he risks losing Grievous and then he loses the game. And I can see why he made that move. I don't think it was a bad move. But I wonder, in terms of 20 minutes left, being as many points down as he is, you just need to get that ship off the board and start focusing on it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's not a single ship that Mark can kill to take the lead. He needs to kill either Sinker and something, or 2.5. Yeah, 2.5 torrents would give him the lead. Just while we're having a brief delay with Dials, I'll just show you briefly the excellent use they're making of our dice cam. We thank them greatly for that. While we're here as well, just to remind you, if you want to donate to Nick and the Firestorm guys to keep the stream going, we promise we won't be invited back on it, but you can donate to keep it going at streamlabs.com/Firestorm Squadron Firecast/tip.
In fact, if you don't donate and Rick has to sell his stuff, Lloyd and I are going to be buying it. So
the more money you donate, the less likely we are to be back.
Yep, so Talon rolls and hard turns in here. I think
just spreading
Mark
arcs,
is going to be taking some fire this round. Goes to show, though, a slight, and maybe calling it a mistake, maybe a little bit harsh, but a slight misposition from Sun at the beginning of the game, and without that, we'd be looking at an incredibly close game right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it felt almost like Mark learnt, right? He was super aggressive with the Sun, and it didn't pay off, and so since then he's been a lot more conservative. And to be fair, that is paying off.
Yep.
Like, he's slowly working his way back into this game. The issue he's going to have is 18.5 minutes left on the clock.
Yep, absolutely.
And don't forget, this is all part of a cunning ploy from the Chaos guys, playing their Phantom Menace card, late on, swapping out, classic delaying tactics. Never trust those guys from Folkestone. Actually, Chaos games are another really nice, Chaos cards, isn't it? Another nice game store.
Yeah, we are spoiled for choice in the southeast.
As long as you're willing to travel for 2 hours, there are
tournaments to
choices
go to. Good, high quality opposition.
When we're commentating.
And we're all off to Galleon Games, or a large proportion of the people here are off to Galleon Games tomorrow for their hyperspace trial. A few people there trying to secure a last-minute trip to Worlds.
Yeah.
Well, the tickets, and then obviously fund themselves.
So Mark rotates arc in towards, I think, or is that forward? I can't quite see. Looks like the arc is forward and Jetek, so I think he's going to take green and just barrel rolling forwards. And Grievous does one turn in, so Grievous is going to take 2 shots currently.